Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. The purports of Srila Prabhupada, which explain the verses of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is, by the way, the ripened fruit of all the Vedas. Nigama Kalpa Tador Galitam Palam. Palam means fruit. Galitam Palam means the ripened fruit. Nigama means Shruti, or the Vedas, the original Vedas. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the Vedic sounds. And by hearing the sounds of the Bhagavatam straight through from beginning to end, our consciousness is purified, expanded, and awakened to the point where we can understand who Krishna is, the original form of the Absolute Truth. And along the way, if we keep reading long enough and sincerely enough, then in a natural way, our original relationship with Krishna will develop, and therefore the form of Krishna that is our eternal Ishtadev, our eternal worshipful Lord, will appear to us. This is the goal of life, the goal of the evolution of consciousness, and particularly the goal of the human form of life. So that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get to the goal. And in the material world, most people, they just work, sleep, eat, have sex, defend themselves, and die. That's it. And they have no idea where they're going, or what they're doing, or why they're doing it. But by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we get the answers to all questions. So, congratulations to all of us who are fortunate enough to be here daily to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam together. Srila Sanatana Goswami is the senior disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the most recent appearance of Krishna in his original form, and he appeared 500 years ago in Bengal and spread Krishna consciousness all over India, pure Krishna consciousness, and reformed the Hindu conception, just as Lord Jesus Christ came and reformed the conception of the Pharisees at that time, the religious priests or religious authorities at the time. And from time to time, it has to be revived again, because the nature of time, which is created by Krishna and controlled by Krishna, causes us to forget. I think every one of us has that experience. We can't even remember what we did a week and a half, 2 days, and a week and a half ago on a certain time of the day, unless you keep really close track. But that's the nature of time. So, our dear Srila Prabhupada, my personal spiritual master, my initiating spiritual master, came to the West and worked very hard to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, single-handedly, actually, and compiled all of these translations and commentaries, putting his own realization on top. And we are a product of that endeavor. And this movement is a product of that endeavor. So, Sanatana Goswami wrote a prayer called the Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, which is a glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam and also an explanation of what it is exactly, to help us go deeper. And that prayer, we're going to say the Sanskrit, we say it every day, and the English, it goes like this. Sarva Shashabdipi Yasha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin ati nicho chatakada hanamuncha gadachin mam premnarit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're coming to the end. We won't finish tonight, but we might finish tomorrow night of the 7th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And this last chapter, chapter 15, is entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. And it is more or less gives a summary of the teachings of the 7th canto, by the way. We're starting with text 28. Ritualistic ceremonies, regulative principles, austerities, and the practice of yoga are all meant to control the senses and the mind. But even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if it does not come to the point of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor in frustration. Purport. One may argue that one may achieve the ultimate goal of life, realization of the Supersoul, by practicing the yoga system and ritualistic performances according to the Vedic principles, even without staunch devotion to the spiritual master. The actual fact, however, is that by practicing yoga, one must come to the platform of meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the scriptures, Dhyana vastitatat gitena manasa pashanti yam yoginaha. A person in meditation achieves the perfection of yoga practice when he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By various practices, one may come to the point of controlling the senses, but simply controlling the senses does not bring one to a substantial conclusion. However, by staunch faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one not only controls the senses, but realizes the Supreme Lord. Yasya Devi Pradab Bhaktir Yata Devi Tatagaro Tasyaite Katitak Yaratak Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:23. It is further stated, Tushyeyam Sarvabhutatma Guru Shushushaya and Tadantyagyo Bhavarnavam. Simply by rendering service to the spiritual master, one crosses the ocean of nations and returns home, back to Godhead. Thus he gradually sees the Supreme Lord face to face and enjoys life in association with the Lord. The ultimate goal of yoga is to come in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless this point is achieved, one's so-called yoga practice is simply labor without any benefit. Text 29. As professional activities or business profits cannot help one in spiritual advancement, but are a source of material entanglement, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot help anyone who is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. If one becomes very rich through his professional activities, through trade or through agriculture, this does not mean that he is spiritually advanced. To be spiritually advanced is different from being materially rich. Such material engagements, however, do not help one in the actual fulfillment of the human mission. On the contrary, material engagements lead one to be attracted to many unnecessary necessities, which are accompanied by the risk that one may be born in a degraded condition. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:18, Urdhvam gachanti satvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya gunavritista ado gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Especially in this Kali Yuga, material advancement means degradation and attraction to many unwanted necessities that create a low mentality. Therefore, Jaganya Guna Vrittista, since people are contaminated by the lower qualities, they will lead their next lives either as animals or in other degraded forms of life. Making a show of religion without Krishna consciousness may make one popular in the estimation of unintelligent men, but factually, such a materialistic display of spiritual advancement does not help one at all. It will not prevent one from missing the goal of life. Text 30. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. Purport. This is the process for conquering the agitation of the mind. One is recommended to take leave of his family and live alone, maintaining body and soul together by begging alms and eating only as much as needed to keep himself alive. Without such a process, one cannot conquer lusty desires. Sannyas means accepting a life of begging, which makes one automatically very humble and meek and free from lusty desires. In this regard, the following verse appears in the Smriti literature. Dvandva hatasya garhastyam dhyana bangadi karanam lakshit va grihi spashtam sanyasid abhicharayan. In this world of duality, family life is the cause that spoils one's spiritual life or meditation. Specifically understanding this fact, one should accept the order of sannyas without hesitation. 31. My dear king, in a sacred and holy place of pilgrimage, one should select a place in which to perform yoga. The place must be level and not too high or low. There one should sit very comfortably being steady and equipoised, keeping his body straight, thus begin chanting the Vedic pranava. Purport. Generally, the chanting of Om is recommended because in the beginning, one cannot understand the personality of Godhead. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 1:2-11, Vedanti tat va vidas tat vam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Unless one is fully convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has the tendency to become an impersonalist yogi, searching for the Supreme Lord within the core of his heart. Dhyana vasti tatgatena manasa vashantiyam yoginaha. Here, the chanting of Omkara is recommended because in the beginning of transcendental realization, instead of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one may chant Omkara, Pranava. There is no difference between the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Omkara, because both of them are sound representations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. In all Vedic literature, the sound vibration Omkara is the beginning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The difference between chanting Omkara and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is that the Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted without consideration of the time or the place or the sitting arrangement recommended in Bhagavad Gita 6:11. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya stiram atmanam asanam atmanaha nat yuchtritam nati nicham chalajina kashotaram. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted by anyone without consideration of the place or how one sits. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has openly declared Niyamatak Smarane Nakala. In chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there are no particular injunctions regarding one's sitting place. The injunction Niyamitak Smarane Nakalaha includes Desha, Kala, and Patra, place, time, and individual. Therefore, anyone may chant the Hare Krishna mantra without consideration of the time and place. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to find a suitable place according to the recommendations of Bhagavad Gita. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, however, may be chanted at any place and at any time, and this will bring results very quickly. Yet, even while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one may observe regulated principles. Thus, while sitting and chanting, one may keep his body straight, and this will help one in the chanting process. Otherwise, one may feel sleepy. Everybody's smiling because everyone has the experience that if you don't pay attention, you'll fall asleep when you chant your japa. Not very good. Better get it fixed. Text 32 and 33. While continuously staring at the tip of the nose, a learned yogi practices the breathing exercises through the technical means known as Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka, controlling inhalation and exhalation, and then stopping them both. In this way, the yogi restricts his mind from material attachments and gives up all mental desires. As soon as the mind, being defeated by lusty desires, drifts towards feelings of sense gratification, the yogi should immediately bring it back and arrest it within the core of his heart. Yato nishtalati manas chanchalam astiram. Krishna says in Gita, whenever mind wanders, one should bring it back into the control of the self through the mantra. Purport. The practice of yoga is concisely explained herein. When this practice of yoga is perfect, one sees the Supersoul, the Paramatma, feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of one's heart. However, in Bhagavad Gita 6:47, the Supreme Lord says, Yoginam apisarvesham madkatenan tadatmana shadhavan bhajate yomam sameyuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. A devotee can immediately become a perfect yogi because he practices keeping Krishna constantly within the core of his heart. This is another way to practice yoga easily. The Lord says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madjaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18:65 and also 9:34. Halfway through and at the end, same instruction, just to make sure we get it right. If one practices devotional service by always keeping Krishna within the core of his heart, manmana, he immediately becomes a first-class yogi. Furthermore, keeping Krishna within the mind is not a difficult task for a devotee. For an ordinary man, in the bodily concept of life, the practice of yoga may be helpful, but one who immediately takes to devotional service can immediately become a perfect yogi without difficulty. Text 34. When the yogi regularly practices in this way, in a short time his heart becomes fixed and free from disturbance, like a fire without flames or smoke. Purport. Nirvana means the cessation of all material desires. Sometimes desirelessness is understood to imply an end to the workings of the mind. But this is not possible. The living entity has senses, and if the senses stopped working, the living entity would no longer be a living entity. He would be exactly like stone or wood. This is not possible. Because he is living, he is nitya and chaitana, eternally sentient. For those who are not very advanced, the practice of yoga is recommended in order to stop the mind from being agitated by material desires. But if one fixes his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, his mind naturally becomes peaceful very soon. Try it. You'll like it. This peace is described in Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richchati. If one can understand Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor of everything, and the supreme friend of everyone, one is established in peace and is free from material agitation. However, for one who cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the practice of yoga is recommended. Text 35. When one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desires, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities. for one is situated in eternal blissful life. Once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities. Purport. Brahma Sukha Sprishtam is also described in Bhagavad Gita 1854. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochati Nakankshati Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhaktim Labate Param. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything, and he is equally disposed toward every living entity. In this situation, he begins transcendental activities or devotional service to the Lord. Generally, once elevated to the transcendental platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, one never comes down. But if one does not engage in devotional service, there is a chance of his returning to the material platform. Aruya krich trena padam tatak padantya do nadrita yushvan angrayaha. One may rise to the platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, but even from that platform, one may fall down to the material platform if he does not engage himself in devotional service. Text 36. One who accepts the sannyas order gives up the three principles of materialistic activities in which one indulges in the field of household life, namely religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One who first accepts sannyas, but then returns to such materialistic activities, is to be called a vantashi, or one who eats his own vomit. He is indeed a shameless person. Purport. Materialistic activities are regulated by the institution of Varnashram Dharma. Without Varnashram Dharma, materialistic activities constitute animal life. Yet even in human life, while observing the principles of Varna and Ashrama, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, one must ultimately accept Sannyas, the renounced order. For only by the renounced order can one be situated in Brahma Sukha, or transcendental bliss. In Brahma Sukha, one is no longer attracted by lusty desires. Indeed, when one is no longer disturbed, especially by lusty desires for sexual indulgence, he is fit to become a sannyasi. Otherwise, one should not accept the sannyas order. If one accepts sannyas at an immature stage, there is every possibility of his being attracted by women and lusty desires, and thus again becoming a so-called grihastha, or a victim of women. Such a person is most shameless, and he is called bantasi, or one who eats that which he has already vomited. He certainly leads a condemned life. In our Krishna consciousness movement, it is advised, therefore, that the sannyasis and brahmacharis keep strictly aloof from the association of women, so that there will be no chance of their falling down again as victims of lusty desires. Text 37. Sannyasis who first consider that the body is subject to death, sannyasis who first consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed into stool, worms, or ashes, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered the greatest rascals. Purport. A sannyasi is one who has clearly understood, through advancement in knowledge, that Brahman, he, the person himself, is the soul, not the body. One who has this understanding may take sannyas, for he is situated in the aham brahmasmi position. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakankshati. Such a person who no longer laments or hankers to maintain his body and who can accept all living entities as spirit souls, can then enter the devotional service of the Lord. If one does not enter the devotional service of the Lord, but artificially considers himself Brahman or Narayana, not perfectly understanding that the soul and body are different, one certainly falls down, patantyada. Such a person again gives importance to the body. There are many sannyasis in India who stress the importance of the body. Some of them give special importance to the body of the poor man, accepting him as Daridra Narayana, as if Narayana had a material body. Many other sannyasis stress the importance of the social position of the body, as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Such sannyasis are considered the greatest rascals, asatama. They are shameless because they have not yet understood the difference between the body and the soul, and instead have accepted the body of a Brahmana to be a Brahmana. Brahmanism, Brahmanya, consists of the knowledge of Brahman. But actually, the body of a Brahmana is not Brahman. Similarly, the body is neither rich nor poor. If the body of a poor man were Daridra Narayan, this would mean that the body of a rich man, on the contrary, must be Dhani Narayana. Therefore, sannyasis who do not know the meaning of Narayana, those who regard the body as Brahman or as Narayana, are described here as asatama, the most abominable rascals, asatama, asatamaha. Following the bodily concept of life, such sannyasis make various programs to serve the body. They conduct farcical missions consisting of so-called religious activities meant to mislead all of human society. These sannyasis have been described herein as apatrapa and asatama, shameless and fallen from spiritual life. Text 38, 39. It is abominable for a person living in the Grihastha ashram to give up the regulative principles, for a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru, for a vanaprastha to live in the village and engage in so-called social activities, or for a sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lowest renegade. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or, taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position, which is a very important point. I thought you weren't going to make it. Hare Krishna to all. This is a very important point because, Krishna consciousness is not like, one strike and you're out. Or even 2 strikes and you're out. Or even 3 strikes and you're out. Because when you're in the material world, the material energy is very strong. And anyone from top to bottom can have accidental slips in the process. So this is a very important point here because it's talking about the sannyasi, the topmost position. If they, by some circumstance, by the strength of material energy, by past bad habits or whatever, fall, if they can be convinced to take up their original position, that is the highest solution. Not that they are rejected. Nobody is rejected. Purport. We have repeatedly stressed that human culture does not begin unless one takes to the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Although Grihastha life is a concession for the enjoyment of sex, One cannot enjoy sex without following the rules and regulations of householder life. Furthermore, as stated, as already instructed, a brahmachari must live under the care of the guru. Brahmachari guru kule vasan danto guror hitam. If a brahmachari does not live under the care of the guru, if a vanaprastha engages in ordinary activities, or if a sannyasi is greedy and eats meat, eggs, and all kinds of nonsense for the satisfaction of his tongue, he is a cheater and should immediately be rejected as unimportant. Such persons should be shown compassion, and if one has sufficient strength, one should teach them to stop them from following the wrong path of life. Otherwise, one should reject them and pay them no attention. Text 40. The human form of body is meant for understanding the self and the Supreme Self, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both of whom are transcendentally situated. If both of them can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge, for what reason and for whom does a foolish, greedy person maintain the body for sense gratification? Purport. Of course, everyone in this material world is interested in maintaining the body for sense gratification. But by cultivating knowledge, one should gradually understand that the body is not the self. Both the soul and the supersoul are transcendental to the material world. This is to be understood in the human form of life, especially when one takes sannyas. A sannyasi, one who has understood the self, should be engaged in elevating the self and associating with the super self. Our Christian consciousness movement is meant for elevating the living being for promotion back home, back to Godhead. Seeking such elevation is one's duty in the human form of life. Unless one performs this duty, why should one maintain the body? Especially if a sannyasi not only maintains the body by ordinary means, but does everything to maintain the body, including even eating meat and other abominable things. He must be a lampata, a greedy person simply engaged in sense gratification. A sannyasi must specifically remove himself from the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, which disturb one as long as one is not fully aware that the body is separate from the soul. Text 41. Transcendentalists who are advanced in knowledge compare the body, which is made by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to a chariot. The senses are like the horses. The mind, the master of the senses, is like the reins. The object of the senses are the destinations. Intelligence is the chariot driver, and consciousness, which spreads throughout the body, is the cause of bondage in this material world. Purport. For a bewildered person in the materialistic way of life, the body, the mind, and the senses, which are engaged in sense gratification, are the cause of bondage to repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. But for one who is advanced in spiritual knowledge, the same body, senses, and mind are the cause of liberation. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 1.3, 3-4, and 9, as follows. Atmanam ratitam vidi, shariram ratam evacha, buddhim tu saratim vidi, manak pragraham evacha. Indriyani hayan ahur, vishayangs teshagocharan. Sodvanak paramapnoti, tad vishno paramam padam. The soul is the occupant of the chariot of the body, of which the driver is the intelligence. The mind is the determination to reach the destination. The senses are the horses, and the sense objects are also included in that activity. Thus one can reach the destination, Vishnu, who is Paramam Padam, the supreme goal of life. In conditioned life, the consciousness of the body is the cause of bondage. But the same consciousness, when transformed into Krishna consciousness, becomes the cause for one's returning home, back to Godhead. The human body, therefore, may be used in two ways: for going back to the darkest regions of ignorance, or for going forward, back home, back to Godhead. To go back to Godhead, the path is Mahat Seva, to accept the self-realized spiritual master. Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahur Vimukte. For liberation, one should accept the direction of authorized devotees who can actually endow one with perfect knowledge. On the other hand, Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. If one wants to go to the darkest regions of material existence, one may continue to associate with persons who are attached to women. Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. The word Yoshit means woman. Persons who are too materialistic are attached to women. It is said, therefore, Atmanam Ratitam Bidi Sharidam Ratameva Cha. The body is like a chariot or car in which one may go anywhere. One may drive well, or else one may drive whimsically. In which case it is quite possible that he may have an accident and fall into a ditch. In other words, if one takes directions from the experienced spiritual master, one can go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, one may return to the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, Krishna personally advises, Ashwadadana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Sangsara Vartmani. Those who are not faithful in the path of devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of foes, but returns to birth and death in this material world. Bhagavad Gita 9.3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead personally gives instructions on how one can return home, back to Godhead. But if one does not care to listen to his instructions, the result will be that one will never go back to Godhead, but will continue life in this material condition of repeated birth and death in material existence. Mrityu, Sangsara, Vartmani. The advice of experienced transcendentalists, therefore, is that the body be fully engaged for achieving the ultimate goal of life, Swartagatim. The real interest or goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead. To enable one to fulfill this purpose, there are so many Vedic literatures, including Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and the Ramayana. One should take lessons from these Vedic literatures and learn how to practice Nivritti Marg. Then one's life will be perfect. The body is important as long as it has consciousness. Without consciousness, the body is merely a lump of matter. Therefore, to return home back to Godhead, one must change his consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. One's consciousness is the cause of material bondage. But if this consciousness is purified by bhakti yoga, one can then understand the falsity of his upadhi, his designations as Indian, American, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, and so on. Sarvopadi vinir muktam tat padat mena nirmalam. One must forget these designations and use this consciousness only for the service of Krishna. Therefore, if one takes advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, his life is certainly successful. Text 42. The 10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot's wheels, and the top and bottom of the wheel itself are called religion and irreligion. The living entity in the bodily concept of life is the owner of the chariot. The Vedic mantra pranava is the bow. The pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. Should we hear that again? No? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. The 10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot's wheels. And the top and bottom of the wheel itself are called religion and irreligion. The living entity in the bodily concept of life is the owner of the chariot. The Vedic mantra pranava is the bow, and the pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. Purport. 10 kinds of air, life air, flow within the material body, always flow. The 10 kinds of life air always flow within the material body. They are called prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana, naga, kurma, krikala, devadatta, and dhananjaya. They are compared here to the spokes of the chariot's wheels. The life air is the energy for all of the living entity's activities, which are sometimes religious and sometimes irreligious. Thus, religion and irreligion are said to be the upper and lower portions of the chariot's wheels. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the conditioned state of life, one does not understand that the goal of life is the Supreme Lord. Nate vidu swarta gatim hi Vishnum durashaya ye bahirartha mani naha. The living entity tries to be happy within this material world, not understanding the target of his life. When he is purified, however, he gives up his bodily conception of life and his false identity as belonging to a certain community, a certain nation, a certain society, a certain family, and so on. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatpadat vena nirmalam. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life, and with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of pranava or the Hare Krishna mantra, he throws himself toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How beautiful is that?
Beautiful.
Huh? How beautiful is that? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented that because the words bow and arrow are used in this verse, one might argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity have become enemies. However, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may become the so-called enemy of the living being, this is his chivalrous pleasure. For example, the Lord fought with Bhishma, and when Bhishma pierced the Lord's body in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, this was a kind of humor or relationship, of which there are 12. When the conditioned soul tries to reach the Lord by hurling an arrow at him, the Lord takes pleasure, and the living entity gains the profit of going back home, back to Godhead. Another example given in this regard is that Arjuna, as a result of piercing the Adaramina, or the fish within the chakra, achieved the valuable gain of Draupadi. Similarly, with the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, by dint of performing this heroic activity of devotional service, one receives the benefit of returning home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Who can write like that? So nice. I'm going to stop there, the reading. It's so nice. That's a very nice stopping place. Throw yourself at the Lord by the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, it's open mic time. Time for reflections. Any point that was in the reading that you might want to have, that you might want to reflect on yourself, or you might want to have more discussion on, or that you might want to question about, please feel free. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello all. It's my first time here. I'm just curious, really. I was walking along yesterday and somebody gave me the Quran.
Oh, nice.
A few days ago, somebody gave me this.
Looks like God's looking after you. Looks like you. Oh yeah.
Number 30 really spoke out to me.
Yes.
There's just and number 42.
Tell. So 30 spoke up to you. So read 30. This is what reflection means. If you find someone you really like, you repeat it again in your own words with your own mouth, and it's good for you and good for us.
Indeed. Number 30. There we go.
Are you paying attention when you turn it around, or are you just turning it around? You're not
Testing
really
1, 2.
The
Okay,
view.
number 30, translation.
He's right over the yeah, keep going. There you go. That's nice.
Ready? Alright. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association, to maintain the body and the soul together. He should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. I guess I came just for that one.
Yeah, well, Prabhupada started this Krishna consciousness movement and opened centers all over the world for two purposes. One was to give a place for people, anyone, to come and hear about Krishna, just like we're doing right now. And the other is to canvas. There are souls, perhaps like yourself, out there, who are not completely satisfied with material existence. And yeah, and I think if you talk to any one of us who have actually joined this movement and become full-time missionaries, I guess you could say, or full-time engaged full-time in trying to spread this mission, the Krishna consciousness movement, you'll see that most of us throughout our lives, we didn't quite fit. We always thought we were a little different, but we didn't know why. And by good fortune, we've come in contact with Srila Prabhupada, or he's come in contact with us. You know, these books are going out and going around, and they've got names on them. And sometimes the person you give it to isn't the ultimate, you know, the person with a name on it. It may go into a shelf, and the person's son or daughter or uncle or friend or relative, whatever, may pick it up and say, "What's this?" You know, and then, wow, you know. It's happened many times, many times.
No, believe me, I wasn't going to come to this if I didn't find this book. I'm cleaning up my house today. I was cleaning up the house, and this is.
You found it?
Yeah, I was like, hey, I picked this up a few weeks ago, and lucky enough, this card had the information.
So, if you you're getting realization because you're on the other end of the, I don't know which part of you, or the arrow, the bow, or the, but definitely, you're the soul that was the target of Krishna to get you back to him or back to God. That's the purpose of human life. So it's great fortune. It's great fortune. Congratulations. And the second thing is that we want to provide facilities for devotees to come and seriously take up spiritual activity, spiritual life, in the association of those who are of same interest. Because when you live with devotees, it's so nice because we also have social activities. Here we are, this is a social activity, and our temple programs are social activities. We have all kinds of things that we do, there's festivals and so many things. And the living being is a social being. That was the point being made in one of the purports, sentient. Every living being is sentient, eternally. An individual, sentient, living being. And to find out who that living being is, because we're not the body. We had a body like him one day. No offense. All of us had bodies, 8-year-old bodies. And now where are they? Every single cell of the body's changed. None of us look like that anymore. What to speak of when we were 1 month old? What to speak of, right out of the womb? We look completely different because our body is completely changed. Every cell. Every 7 years, the scientists say. Are you going? See you.
I have a very simple question.
Yes. Bhakti Chris has got a simple question.
It's just I was curious, as the scripture was saying to shoot yourself as an arrow to the target of the Supreme Being. I was assuming Hare Krishna, but it said Vishnu. And I'm just thinking to myself, is that incarnation? Or
No, Vishnu and Krishna are the same person.
Ah.
Yes.
So these are both the name.
They're both names of God. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Krishna is one person, but he has many forms.
Yes.
But he has an original form.
Yes.
The original form is Krishna. And Vishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion. But this Vishnu is very important to us in the material world because he's the expansion of Krishna who has something to do with the creation of the universe.
With this universe.
Yes.
Got it.
So therefore, yeah.
Thank you.
Got one here. Vrindavaneshvari Das, Devi Das.
Vrindavaneshwari.
Yeah.
Vrindavaneshwari.
Vrindavaneshvari.
Vrindavaneshwari. The better half of Krishna Katha. They're in Silicon Valley, California. Haribol Vrindavaneshwari. So nice to see you.
Hare
Or
Krishna.
hear you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. We read, especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to find a suitable place according to the recommendations of Bhagavad Gita. I understand it is recommended to perform your japa early. Isn't chanting the Maha Mantra somewhat inattentively better than not chanting at all? I've told people new to Krishna consciousness, just chant anywhere at any time on the Caltrain, before you go to bed or when you rise. Baby steps in my mind. Or is it best to encourage right away to find a somewhat quiet space to focus and chant before sunrise?
It depends on the person, the time, and the circumstance. But Lord Chaitanya, in a general sense, he says, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Chacharpita Niyamatak Smaranena Kala. Niyatak Smaranena Kala means there's no hard and fast rules for chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So yes, The best time for chanting is early in the morning, in a quiet place, before the world, comes into action, and the mode of passion becomes prevalent everywhere, and even the sounds and the activities disturb the atmosphere and disturb your mind. It's the best time. But if a person's brand new and they've never done before, and you can just get them to chant, great. There's no hard and fast rule. You can chant Hare Krishna anytime, anywhere, any way. In your mind, you can yell, you can sing, you can whisper, you can chant alone, you can chant with others, this is perfect yoga. It's the way to meditate on Krishna, because Krishna, namanamino, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord Himself are not different. Therefore, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you are literally with Krishna. Whether you can perceive it or not, that's another thing. But the holy name is eternally pure and all-powerful. Nam namakadi bahuda nija sarva shaktis. So therefore, and another point that you brought up indirectly is that namaparada yuktanam namam eva yagamaham. It means agamyaham. It means the chanting of Hare Krishna should be done also by offenders. Because even if you're an offender, if you keep chanting and you don't stop chanting, eventually the holy name itself will relieve you from the offenses and you will become perfect eventually. But it'll take longer if you make offenses. So better if you learn what the offenses are and then learn to avoid them while you chant. But in the beginning, we don't stress that so much. We just get people to start chanting, because as soon as you start to chant sincerely, then you get something, you get a taste, Krishna is very kind. Rupa Goswami calls this shadow attachment. You may get an attachment that maybe not be coming from your own heart, but it comes from the heart of others who are around you, who have a taste, or even from the holy name itself. And therefore it gives you impetus, it gives you enthusiasm, it gives you encouragement that you're doing the right thing. You'll feel a kind of relief when you first start chanting that you've never felt before, and it's lovely, and it's attractive, and satisfying completely. So yes, you should explain to everybody to chant Hare Krishna, and there's no hard and fast rules. But as you learn how to chant, then we'll learn that we chant early in the morning when the atmosphere is quiet and calm, and then you can go deeper.
Any other question by Katie Ramai?
Katie
Ramai.
Ramai, oh yes.
Maharaj, if a woman isn't considering marriage anymore, but still wants to keep her job in order to maintain her deities and herself, which of the 4 varnashrams would be the most suitable for her?
Vanaprastha. Yes, Bhakta Doug.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just wanted to make a comment of a reflection on the verse that was being spoken about sannyasis leaving home and begging alms, and how that actually, by begging to support oneself, it develops humility for one, and then I guess gives rid of this like a desire we might have for respect from others. And when we were reading earlier Brahmacharis, we were hearing from our family business, and Vaisheshika Prabhu was talking about similar types of purification from book distribution. So I was reflecting on how this seems similar to like the modern day. Rather than begging alms, we're going out and trying to distribute the mercy to others.
Exactly. And those of us who are fully dedicated and to go out and distribute books and collect donations for the books, to print more books and help maintain our ashrams and our temples. We're perfectly situated. It's the perfect engagement for brahmacharis and sannyasis and grahastas and everybody. It's transcendental, completely transcendental. One can engage in this activity as a brahmachari, as a grahasta, or a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I got another question from. This is about my one-word cryptic answer. She's asking more. I knew she was going to ask for something more.
Right. She says, where can I read more about the conditions of one entering to vanaprastha?
Well, we just read about it, in this canto. What chapter was it? Just 2 or 3 chapters ago? 12. Not grahasta, vanaprastha. Retired life. We have to, one thing is that when you read about, like I said this in the beginning, remember? When we first started to read about these chapters about the perfection of the varnashram system and all the rules and regulations and all the divisions and what the duties are exactly. In the Kali Yuga, we can't, follow everything perfectly. It's not possible. First of all, we don't have a society to protect us, to support us. In India, it's much easier because the society was a proper varnashram society, and therefore there are remnants of it. That's why it's good to live in the communities, the ISKCON communities, the temple communities. So you're asking what's the best way to do this? If possible, if you can live close to a temple and attend temple programs and become a part of a community and with the spiritual and support, the social support that comes from being in a group that is doing the same activities with the same goals, that helps make you buoyant in spiritual life and keeps you honest and keeps you following. You get empowered to follow strictly. So I would say that if a person is no longer interested in getting married, or has been through marriage and is no longer interested in getting married again, whether they're male or female, if they're working outside, they should situate themselves in a way that they can be close as possible to a temple, if you can organize your life that way, or if you can't, then you organize your own place, your own living place, like a temple, and rise early and do the morning program that we do in our temples. I'm a little bit, recently, over the last year or two, I'm a little disabled. I can't get around so much, but I get up every morning and I have, I have my altar, and we have seen my altar in my room, and I do the full morning program every single morning. I chant all the Mangalartik prayers and Mangalarcharna prayers, extended, and I do Tulsi Puja, and I have Maharani with me. This is my Tulsi who's in that room. And wherever we are, whatever situation we're in, we can do this. You can live a retired life, even if you're living in a city, even if you're still working. If you organize your life and are determined enough, sometimes people think, well, I have no time, but if you look at their, put their little spotlight on the life and find out what they actually do, they can go to restaurants, they can go to movies, they can go to concerts, they can go to the beach, they can go here, they can go there, So a devotee's life is organized in such a way as we have social events. Just like the other day, we had a housewarming, a house opening over here, and all the devotees came together, and they had a social gathering and a feast and lectures and, Krishna conscious social life. We have schools and children who do plays and in our events, and so many things are going on. But persons who are, maybe through with that, like sannyasis are generally through with that kind of thing, then we live simply and we live for the benefit of others, for the, one of the symptoms of vanaprastha, retired, or sannyas life, when we're no longer in quote-unquote materialistic family, is we take on the human society as our family. And this is one way that we see people equally, and we try to bring people to Krishna consciousness, or we try to help those who are already with us in their advancement in Krishna consciousness. And if we do that, all of our senses and our mind and our heart, they become satisfied, and the restlessness goes away. Wouldn't that be nice if the restlessness would go away? So there's a formula for doing that, no matter what position we're in, whatever our gender, whatever our lifestyle, whatever our occupation. There's a formula for doing that, and it's the same for everybody. You see initiating gurus in our movement or sannyasis, what have they got in their hand in the morning? It's called a bead bag. We're all chanting Hare Krishna. It's not that the guru's up there on high taking all the money and he doesn't have to do anything like chant or hear or, everyone.
Katie left a follow-up comment, and then
Yes.
Rati Manjari left a question.
Yes. Katie's follow-up comment.
I am fortunate to live 30 minutes away from Sri Sri Radha Landanishvara Dham, and I have my altar at home as well.
Oh my God.
And even though I work 7 days a week, their lordships are so merciful to me that I get to serve them one way or another 6 days a week. I feel very blessed.
I think you have more than the answer. You can teach. You just taught us. Thank you, Katie. Hare Krishna. I hope that you come and see me in Folkestone when I come there in September. Hare Krishna.
And then Rati's question. Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Tonight we have heard many nice points about meditation on the Lord. Nowadays, meditation is popular, but there is little known about the Lord. Instead, people are very enthusiastic over this phenomenon, mindfulness. Could you please comment on this phenomenon?
The next catchphrase, the latest catchphrase in the pantheon of fashion.
Where does mindfulness fit into the process of Krishna consciousness, or is it opposing? What could we say to people who are raving over it to bring them closer to Krishna consciousness?
Well, first of all, what is mindfulness?
Being mindful in your actions, taking more care, doing things more consciously.
Oh, that's what it means, mindfulness?
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you be the most mindful if you knew who everything belonged to?
Mm-hmm.
And where everything came from?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the source of everything?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be like a higher form of mindfulness? If you just, okay, I'm going to take care of this nicely because it's in goodness to keep it clean, but if it belongs to Krishna, then how I take care of it is the ultimate mindfulness. And that goes for my clothes, it goes for what I eat, it goes for how I live. If we're completely mindful of Krishna, because that's the ultimate mindfulness, is to be mindful of Krishna, man mana bhava mad bhakto, that's what that verse means. Always think of me. That's God telling us how to be mindful. But if you make up what mindfulness is, and just to be more conscious, this is a book and I'm very conscious of it, therefore, put it on the bookshelf, whatever. But, if I know where it came from and I know who the owner is, just like if you go to a place, let's say you rent a beach house or something and you go there, but if one of your best friends, very dear best friend or relative, gives it to you to use for a weekend, if you're actually mindful, then you'll keep care of it and leave it in a better condition than when you got there. So there's a law, there's a principle for Brahmins. They leave a place cleaner when they work there or they do anything there. They leave it cleaner than before they got there. It belongs to Krishna. If you're mindful that everything belongs to Krishna, then you will automatically take the best care of everything, including your own body and mind. We don't neglect our bodies and minds. We don't neglect our families. Even if we're a renounced order, a renounced consciousness, we don't neglect anybody or anything. So that's ultimate mindfulness. But without that conception of who actually everything belongs to, it will go to it belongs to me or it belongs to my family member. This is called aham mameti. It belongs to me. Vihaya kamanyak sarmam pumang chad. What is that verse? Vihaya kamanyak sarvan pumang charidi nispriya. Nirmamo nirahankara. Nirmamo nirahankara. Sashantim adhigacchati. So this is the goal of mindfulness is to become peaceful. And the goal of peacefulness is to become happy. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya acha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavya takshantir ashantisa kutasukam. So you can't have peacefulness unless you are connected in devotional service with the source of everything. So, these are catchphrases, they're buzzwords, like mindfulness or consciousness. Conscious, it's like now they want to become conscious. It's like Prabhupada said, when we talk about sunshine, we don't talk about the shine. Doesn't mean anything without the sun, shine. Shine doesn't mean anything without the sun. So consciousness doesn't mean anything without Krishna. Krishna consciousness. That's the original consciousness of the soul. It's our original constitutional consciousness. Love of God, attachment, affection for Krishna. So that's real, ultimate mindfulness. And then when you do that, because you're giving your affection and your care and your attention to the root of existence, to the root of everything, automatically you feel more connected and more caring and more conscious and more mindful of everything in the proper way.
Katie and Rati both left another comment. Katie says, I will try to. Thank you very much for your time answering my questions and teaching me. I'm trying my best and still have a lot to learn as I am a devotee for just a year and a half. But it's blessings and mercy of my beloved Guru Maharaj that carries me around. And then Rati's comment was, hello. I turned it around. Alright. Mindfulness is derived from Buddhism, but they stripped it from its ethic component. The argument against it is that it can be used as a way to help people cope with their often frustrating circumstances without showing them the higher life of the soul. We are more than a mind.
Very good. I'm convinced. Sign me up. Okay, I have to go because 8 o'clock is my bewitching hour. I'll turn into a pumpkin if I don't leave later. I've been staying up too late. Don't mind because I get up early and I do these recordings. So I have to keep my health, which is part of being mindful. So I have to be mindful of that. So thank you very much, everyone, for your lovely reflections and discussions, and for being here and being mindful. Hare Krishna, and thank you everyone out in cyberspace. And we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe we'll finish 8th, 7th canto tomorrow. Getting close. All right.
So if we finish this early, we're going to start 8 tomorrow?
Huh?
If we finish this early tomorrow, then we're going to start 8.
Yeah. We'll start. Bring your 8 cantos. Everybody bring their 8 cantos just in case. And also tomorrow Saturday, so we'll be reading at 4:30 Central Time, USA. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Narada Muni ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.